Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Brita Wallace, family and parent educator with Wallace Family Ministry. I'm so happy you're here to join me for day 11 for the Love Dare for parents. So we are just going to hop right in today. We always start with a verse if this is your first time here. So our verse today is Deuteronomy 6:6-7. So these words which I am commanding you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your son. So think about some things that you wish you learned when you were a child, or just sometime during the time that you were home with your parents, that nobody taught you, right? So this could be, as simple as riding a bike. Maybe you were afraid, maybe nobody rode bikes in your family, and you watched all the kids in the neighborhood ride bikes, and you were just too scared to learn, and nobody at home taught you because they didn't value riding a bike, which is fine, right? But it's something that you wanted to learn how to do. Maybe it's budgeting your money and learning how to manage your money well, so that when you had your own bills to pay, you knew how to do this successfully. Maybe it's fixing your own car, right? So that you don't have to bring it to a mechanic and spend a lot of money. So just think about those things. When you were a kid, maybe it's how to be a good friend. Maybe it's how to manage and deal with and handle your anger appropriately. Maybe it's emotional autonomy. That's one thing in my childhood that I really wished I learned how to do, was how to control my emotions instead of allowing them to control me. And then also, learning that health, that emotional and mental health. That's something, those are two things on a deeper level that I wish that I had learned and didn't have to learn in my early 30s. Okay. So, effectively navigating through life means knowing how to solve problems. Okay. So how to size up a difficult situation, how to wisely resolve it, and turn things around for good. But without guided preparation and a baseline of skills, you're consistently starting from scratch. You're just flying blind, right? You're making things up as you go along. You're just trying things out. You're saying, if I handle it this way, is this going to work? Is this going to be effective? Love says, come here, let me show you something. This is where as a parent, we can come in and we can offer this support. Our book says, Love sees parenting as a workshop, a classroom for success, a boot camp for life's battles, a place where children are continually being trained for life, one little side-by-side adventure at a time. It's everything from tying shoes and riding a bike to parallel parking and ironing a shirt dress. So it's telling our kids, let me show you something. Watch what happens when you do this. Don't make this foolish mistake, whatever it is. We could easily solve our daily problems on our own, right? And that's actually the quicker way, where we're like, just let them figure it out on by themselves. Sometimes we say that in certain situations in parenting because we think, that's really not something that I need to spend time teaching them. They'll figure that out by themselves, as life happens, they'll learn this, but that doesn't mean they're learning it appropriately. It doesn't mean they're learning how to handle it effectively, right? So we want to make sure we're taking the time to teach our kids. So we are to teach our children how to effectively navigate through their lives, which again means how to solve problems, how to size up difficult situations, how to resolve these situations wisely. That's important, wisely, not just resolve the situations. We want to teach them how to resolve them wisely. And then to turn them around for good. Okay, so for an example, just a really simple, quick example is that there is a lot of pain and childhood trauma in my life, and I have used it for good to earn degrees, to earn certifications, to continue education, to be able to educate parents and families and help their families thrive. Okay, so I've used that pain and trauma, those things from my childhood for good, okay? So that's just an example. And again, love says, come here, let me show you. Watch what happens when you do this. Don't make this foolish mistake. Love makes and takes the time to teach, okay? So let them, how do we do that? How are we supposed to teach them, right? Maybe you're like, well, I think I am teaching my kids. Maybe you are. Maybe you're like, I'm not really sure. So how do we do that? We let them watch what you're doing. We let them participate under supervision. So we let them watch, then we let them help, and then we let them do under supervision, okay? So love means building up our children's minds and their relational IQ. It's helping them develop their worldview with wisdom, and it's teaching them values and morals, okay? So we want to make sure that we are doing that for our kids, that we are teaching them, right? We want to teach them. So make your home a learning lab, right? We want to make our homes a learning lab. Love simply has a teacher's heart, and love sets our children up for success, for adulthood. It sets them up to go into the world and live appropriately, right? Live effectively, live with the values and morals. If our children have children, we want to leave a legacy so that they're passing it on, right, to their children, and we want them to be teaching their children the values and the morals, the good fruit that we have implanted in them. And we want to make sure we're teaching them good fruit and not just assuming they're going to figure it out on their own. So what could love guide you to teach your children today? Okay, so we want to make sure that we are teaching our children something new today. So life has enough traps and valleys as it is, but by letting your love draw out the roadmaps and point out the bridges today, you prepare your children to thank God for you later when they stand and celebrate on the mountain peaks you taught them how to climb. So what could love teach you to teach your children today? Excuse me, I'm having a hard time talking today. So we are gonna hop right into the dare. So I want you today to make 2 separate lists of things you want to teach your kids. So life skills and life lessons. Keep them in a notebook nearby and look for an opportunity to involve one or more of your children in a work project or some other teaching moment. Make it a habit. So that is very similar to what we do at Wallace Family Ministry, where we focus on life skills and characteristics. So this is life skills and life lessons. What do you want them to learn? So what life skills do you want them to have? You know, maybe a mechanic does want their child to have some skills in how to fix a car, or just the basics. Maybe it's oil change a tire, to be, you know, sufficient for themselves. You know, maybe it's brakes, and be able to do these simple things to a car. Maybe it's rebuilding an engine even, which is more complicated, right? But maybe you're an accountant. So you really want your children, and whether we're accountants or not, I think it's important that we do teach our children how to budget money effectively. I think if that's not something that we know how to do, or we are not good at, it's something that we learn well, so we can teach our children how to do that. I mean, and I think you can start doing that at a very, very young age. I think that you can start planting those seeds of saying, hey, I'm gonna give you, you know, my kids get birthday money, okay? They don't necessarily get like allowance or anything right now, but they get birthday money and they have a bank account. So, you know, one thing that we go through with Jack sometimes at his young age is that sometimes he can be rough and tough. So I'm like, hey, if you break this and it's somebody else's, then we have to replace it, you know? And we have instilled in him that he's gonna have to replace something if he breaks it. And where is that money gonna come from? Well, it's gonna come from your own money in your own bank. And I mean, age appropriately, he doesn't understand, well, like, who cares, you know, like, he could think that if that's as far as I took the conversation, because he's 4, right? But I'm like, well, and then what do you think? You know, he knows that money buys his toys and money buys things that he wants. Not that he gets the option to take that money out all the time, but in his head, it's an easy way to explain. If you are not gentle, or if you're purposely doing this to somebody else's stuff, right, then we have to replace it, and you have to replace it. That's going to come from your money, and that's less toys you get to buy. That's less things that you like that you get to have. So even at a very young age, we can talk about things age appropriately with our kids, whether it's doing that or not. If my child is purposely breaking somebody's things, then he is going to pay for that out of his own money, because and then that's going to be another lesson. We're going to maybe bring him to the bank together, let the teller tell him how much money he has, how much, you know, and then we're going to say, hey, this is how much money you have to take out. If you're consistently doing things, maybe he's not going to totally understand the concept of that yet, and then he can go and buy, replace the thing with us or order it with us, however that's going to look, and be involved in doing that, and then giving it or helping replace it, however that's going to look and work, to the person who's, you know, the thing that he ruined, so that he understands this is what happens when we break things purposefully, because we were going through something where he would just, you know, want to break something and think it was funny. Well, no, that's not funny, you know, and you're going to have to replace it. That's what happens if we break things that belong to other people, then you have to replace it. So that's something that I want my child to value and respect other people's belongings. And there's a fine line there, because I don't want my child to value belongings to an extent where, you know, like he's idling them or thinking that, okay, well, this is, you know, we really need to put this high value on people. But I think more or less it's a respect issue. These are other people's things. We shouldn't be, they cost money. We should be gentle with them. And the same thing goes with our things too. If we're, you know, mishandling and mistreating our things, well, then we don't get to enjoy them for, you know, the purpose that they're there for. And I think it's important that we're teaching, you know, and that teaching that to him, especially. We could just let him be rough and tough and break everything and be like, whatever, you know, but we don't want to do that. We want to instill this this value in him, and that things cost money too, right? Where that piece comes in, that money piece, where things cost money, and how much money things actually cost, like how valuable is, as far as monetary go, you know, monetary speaking monetarily goes. My goodness, I cannot talk today, guys. I'm so sorry. So that he understands, and we're starting to plant those seeds early, even though, you know, he's not gonna be like, oh, you know, $2 is, you know, whatever, where he's gonna really understand the concept of like that. But if we're explaining things to him and allowing him to be involved in that situation, then that's going to be more fruitful than just screaming at him, sending him away, and being like, oh well, right? I mean, that's not very effective. But if we're, you know, including him in having to replace something, you know, okay, maybe he doesn't have his own money. Well, maybe you have to do something to work for your money. Maybe you have to sweep the porch, you know, to replace this thing. You need to earn the money to replace this thing. Maybe you have to do some work for the person whose thing that you broke so you can earn the money, right? Something along those lines. So there's a lesson being taught, and they're starting to put a value on, you know, things and how much they cost, and that we have to be gentle, right? So that's just a scenario in our lives that has happened. We've been doing a lot better with that, as far as him not being so rough with things anymore, and thinking it's funny to break things intentionally. I mean, and one of the reasons I think that that's like he's doing better with it of course, it's developmentally, he's getting older and he's just starting to understand more things, and realizing also that when he breaks his own stuff, if he breaks his own things purposefully, we throw them in the garbage. I'm like, well, they're broken, now they're going in the garbage. I personally, maybe this is something that other people disagree with, but he's always like, he will break something and then say, Daddy can fix it. And I'm like, no, he's not. He's not gonna fix it, because we don't treat our things that way. Okay, Daddy's not gonna fix it, it needs to go in the trash. So we throw it out. If something breaks and it was not intentional, it was on accident, then we do try to fix it for him. Okay, but we have to value our things. If we're gonna throw something to see what happens and watch it break and do that repeatedly, and you're not, you're just not listening to Mommy and Daddy say, hey, you have to stop doing that. This is what happens, you see what happens, and now we have to throw that out because that's, now it's broken, so there are some things that Chris maybe could fix. I mean, if he really took the time and put the time into fixing it, and I'm like, no, don't fix it. It needs to go in the trash, because that's not how we treat our things. We're not fixing it. It's not fixable. It's not salvageable. We were too rough, and it needs to go in the trash now. It's broken and it's gone, and you don't get another one. So, and that's that, right? So that's just an example. I'm sorry I'm such a hot mess today, guys. I'm like, can't talk. My remote's not working. You get the gist though. So I'm gonna read the dare one more time. So make 2 separate lists of things that you want to teach your kids. Life skills is the first list. Life lessons are the second list, and keep them in a notebook nearby. And then look for an opportunity to involve one or more of your children in a work project or some other teaching moment. And then make this a habit. Make sure that you are using those moments as teachable moments for your kids. So that is it for today, day 11 of the Love Dare for Parents. I know this was probably not my best video. I'm a hot mess today. And we can just laugh at ourselves sometimes and say, hey, it is what it is, and move on. So that is what I'm doing. Make sure you like my channel, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and make sure you share me with your friends, especially if you think your friends could get something out of this amazing study. I also have a Love Dare a Love Dare study for marriages. So if you want to go ahead and check that out, the videos are posted simultaneously the same day. So we're on day 11 of the marriage dare as well. So I love you guys. Take care, and God bless.